Hello everyone, welcome. I'm going to have another flip through of the little daisy journal and see what we need to finish off. I was just working on my tags for the 52 tags handmade challenge, and I realised that this week we're doing the lazy daisy stitch, so I thought I'd do an extra one to put in our lovely daisy journal. So I just thought I'd run through finishing that off, having a look at where we're up to with the daisy journal and seeing what needs to be done before I stitch it up, and we can do a full flip through. So I've started doing my tags, and I've done the blue one here, which I haven't stuck down yet, but I've done a couple of different styles of daisy on there, and one in particular I picked up from watching Kathleen's work, Kathleen Sundby, and she does these lovely daisies that end with the piston stitch at the end of them, and it just adds just that little bit extra to your daisy and makes it a little bit more intricate. And these are the ones that we did with Anne, and she showed you how to do like a daisy within a petal within the daisy petal to give it some more layering, and she finished off with a lot of knots, and I'll probably add a little bit more to mine, but I stopped for the moment to do a yellow one for our daisy journal. So again, this is the stitch that Kathleen taught us to do in one of her videos, and I've done it in the lovely golden yellow with a little flower petal, which is just one of these. I'll show you the pink one so you can see. One of these little paper daisies that I had, and you can use those as your base and work out your stitching from there. So I might do another one just so that you can see how I did that. Maybe with that smaller little daisy there, we could do a little tiny one below. So I have some threaded up floss here to do, and I'll just try and show you how I did that, if I can show you that on film. So what Kathleen did was, I might go that way up, it has a little bit of rusting on it, this little daisy. I don't know how it ended up with rusting, but it adds to the character of it. So what I do first is just come up in the middle and do a French knot. So to do that, you just pull through and you wind around your needle a few times, as many as you actually want to create your knot, and then you go back down in the same spot that you came up and push your needle through. I've got a rather thick needle there, so plus I've got slippery fingers, so it might take a bit to push it through. And oops, get hold of it with my slippery fingers and my fat needle. I should have got a skinnier needle for this little one, but never mind. So that puts a little tiny knot in the middle of your flower. You can do that after you've done the stitching if you want to. So I just go in the middle of each petal then and do your daisy shape petal, oops, and go down more or less where you came up. I don't know if you can see very well here because it's probably not close enough for you to see. Now it's gone into a knot. Doesn't that always happen? As soon as you turn on the camera, it does the opposite of what it should be doing. So you've made your petal shape there. You decide how long you want it, and this is only a small daisy, so we don't really want it too huge. So you have a little petal, then you come up from underneath, as Anne showed us in her video of how to do the lazy daisy stitch. And you would normally go straight back down and peg down your loop like that, but in the case of doing the pistons on the end, you don't actually need to go back down. You do the same thing as you would with your French knots, and that is wrapping around your needle as many times, depending on how fat you want your knots. You just go round and round a few times, and then you decide how long you want you leave a bit of stem, so that's this bit here from the edge of the petal. So if you're coming out, you go back in roughly round about how far out you want your little satellite to be, so it comes out from the daisy like that. Sorry, it's really hard to actually show you this on camera, isn't it? So can you see there that you have, although you can see it, so that comes out quite a long way from where your daisy ended, because that was a small one. So you just go around each petal doing that. So I'll go off and finish those other little petals and show you, so I don't take up too much more time. I just wanted to show you how I did that one in particular. So I'll finish that in a moment, but we'll just have a quick look while I've got the camera on at what we need to do to finish our journal here. We have done quite a bit. So we've got the tags in, and I was going to probably sew around the tags, so I'll finish that off. I've done a little bit of collage here. I've added an envelope, and I've been through and put some little snippet clusters through. I think we did those one day. We did a little video on how to make those. So I've added a few of those to the book. I've added some tags. These are some of the tags that I made when I was doing the eco dyeing, and that one was a daisy, so I thought that went really well and the colours were nice. So we've added that. Some more, just a little bit of collage on the pages. Now, as I said before, I'm not going to do a lot in this one, because I want the person who gets this journal to actually add their own personality and their own style. So that's a daisy one we did on the eco dyeing day that I thought went well with this little book. So what I will do now is maybe go through and do some stamping, because we haven't added any stamping. I've added some lovely trim. That trim there, oh sorry, it's off the edge, you can't see, I apologise. So that is from Boho Daydreams, one of her bundles, and it had the gorgeous little daisies in and the gold trim, so I thought that's just perfect for what we're doing. I've added a lady, one of the paper dolls there, and some lovely ribbon through there. I'm going to sew around the tags. As I said, we did the stenciling one day. These pictures are just so beautiful. So I've added a pocket here with some lovely crocheted lace trim and a tag in the top. And this gorgeous piece here, I just love this little doily with a cluster on top of crocheted bits and pieces of fabric and lace, and then this lovely lady that I found with bunches of daisies. Now I think she is from Paper Daisy, that lady, and she just went so well with Mrs. Cogg's collection. I put her into. And this is the flip outs we made one day. I think you might remember that we did a day where we made flip outs, and I think I put that on the video one day. So we've got our collage pieces and tags popped in there, and those colours seem to go well, so I added those along with it. I've added some ribbon, just a little bit of bias ribbon there, pulled up. So a cluster with a lovely little Australian butterfly stamp there, and some more trim, a sari silk in the rainbow greens and yellows. And I think we've come along a fair way. I've done, yeah, I think I showed you how to do those, and we added just a little bit of collaged book page. There's a few little spots we can do some stamping left in. So I did a belly band there with that gorgeous lady because she's got all the daisies surrounding her. Another one of Mrs. Cogg's lovely designs with the cotton trim, cotton lace trim. And added some washi tape, and this little flip page is one of Gibonnieri's watercolour lines, and I just thought that gave you a nice spot to write there in amongst all the beautiful images from Mrs. Cogg's collection from her Daisy Journal kit. This one is actually a tuck here, so we can find something nice to tuck into that, which we can add something to later. Beautiful pictures. So we've got a few spots there we can add some things. There's a nice little daisy tag I made with some pretty spotty ribbon, and it just pops into this little pleated paper band at the bottom. Another one of the pleated paper bands there. Okay, so what I'll do, that's a piece of handmade wombat poo paper there that I've just stamped handmade by on. So I'll go and find some lovely stamps that will suit the Daisy Journal, and I think we'll add those today just to finish it off, and then I'll stitch it up, and I'll probably do a giveaway with that one a little bit down the track, maybe when we reach the 1000 mark or something like that. So keep that in mind, and I will finish it off. See you shortly. So I've been away and found some stamps that might work with our Daisy book, so I'll just show you what I've chosen. I've picked out the Craft Consortium's Wildflower Meadow, which is full of daisies, beautiful daisies, so I thought they'd go really nice. If friends were flowers, I'd pick you, sounds lovely. Some little flower trims, I think they look kind of daisy-ish or sunflowerish or something like, so I thought they'd go well. I've got this 49 and Market one, which is some little sort of flowery bits that could be, I don't know, cow meadow or something similar, that sort of go with the daisy theme. Live in the sunshine, swim in the sea, drink the wild air. And then there's this lovely Dandelion Wishes one, which is from Stampin' Up, and that has some lovely dandelions, which kind of goes with daisies as well, I think. So I thought we might use those on the pages. So I'll do a little bit of stamping. And another thing I thought I haven't put in this one, I usually put a little baggie of some kind, and this one's actually a lunch sandwich bag, so lots of people probably have those in their cupboard. If not, just a brown paper bag will probably do the same thing, and just fold it so that it flips out, so when you put it on your page you work out which side that you prefer it on and which side you want the flip. So because it's this side, we'll have the flip going sort of that way to open, so that you can put something inside there if you would like to tuck a secret message or letter or something in there. So I thought we might decorate that as well, as I usually do put a paper bag in. So the question is, what do we decorate it with? Well, I've got a little collection of bits and pieces that I've cut out that I usually use in my collaging. I tend to keep a little box of bits and pieces of leftovers that work well. Now that's a little piece of very ancient music sheet. It's probably from about 1930, so it's quite delicate. It's crumbling a little bit around the edges, but once you glue it down and add a few more pieces, it gives it strength, so it's not usually an issue. I had cut out another of the daisy ladies from the Paper Daisy digital collection, because she has such a beautiful arm full of daisies, and I thought, well, we could make use of her. I generally use a little piece of Some people call it muslin, some people call it cheesecloth. It just depends on the weight and thickness as to what you choose to call it. You can antique that up. I've got a bit of antique linen here, so if you haven't already got some that's tea dyed, you can just add a little bit of colour to it by rubbing it across your ink pad, and that will add a little bit of colour to it and take that white off. So if you actually want to make it look a little bit more aged and you don't want the stark white look, you can just rub your ink pad across that or dip it in your ink pad just to get a little bit of colour across it. So that's something we can use. So what I might do is glue these down as we go. Now because this is a little bit short, we'll have a gap at the bottom, but that's okay because you can fill that in with something like a little piece of lace or some crochet trim if you'd prefer. So we'll have a look and see what we think when we get to that stage. So let's just glue that down while we've got that idea in our head. So you might be able to hear Lucy meowing in the background. She wants to get out, but I can't let her out because there's a really bad storm out there, and she doesn't seem to realise she's going to get absolutely soaking wet and cold and miserable until she actually goes out there and does it, and then comes back in wanting to be toweled down and warmed up again. So the answer is no, Lucy, I'm afraid. You have to stay in. No, she said, I don't want to. It's alright, Luce, come on. So we have that sort of glued. And the thing with this art glitter glue is it sticks really quickly, so if you haven't got it quite in the right spot, it will be sort of stuck there. So there we go. Kind of close to it. Oops. Oh, Lucy. Sorry, Lucy just jumped up and moved the camera. There. It is a bit hard working on a side angle to get that straight. So I think we're somewhere near it. So then we just decide where we want our little piece of fabric underneath our lady. So you only need just a tiny little bit peeking out to make it look softer. So we'll probably go that way and just stick that. I just put enough on that it grabs, because when you glue all the other bits down over the top, that will make it hang on. So I don't need a lot of glue there. So we'll put plenty of glue on our lady here. She's a lovely pretty lady with her daisies. It's no use harassing me, Lucy, you're not going out, and that's that. So that sticks down there nicely, and that's your little flip section. I do have also, we could put on a tab there. That I should have probably put that underneath. Maybe I still can. Just tuck it slightly underneath there, and that guides you to the fact that it's a flip when you're looking through the book. So I might stick that down there. It helps you to know that it's a spot where you can open it up and have a look. Lucy, you would get soaked. It's a stormy day out there. Not for cats outside. No. So there we have a little spot to grab hold of and turn the page. Then we have our spot down the bottom here. We need to decide whether we'd like something like that. I think that's quite pretty. Oh, you do too, do you, Lucy? There's not much point in harassing me, Lucy, because I won't be letting you out. I'm sorry. It's an inside day for cats. Dang, she said. Not impressed, Mum. I'm an outside girl. So we can either go that way or that way. I think that looks really pretty. So that's the flip part. So when we put that on our book, excuse me Lucy, we will be flipping it to that side. So now for our inside piece, which is this piece here. Hopefully you can still see okay there. I thought for this part we might use this lovely piece of writing, an old-fashioned letter, which looks really nice and vintagey. So we might put that down. Okay, so I'll put that bit down here. My little bag is a bit slippery, that's why it moves around a little. So we want to make sure that it's away from the folded piece so that when we go to fold it over it won't be in the way. So we have our nice piece of writing, so it would be lovely I think to put a flower on there, maybe this nice flower here, and that comes from a book of botanical illustrations, so I've just fussy cut that. I've also got a little saying here which says, "Give me odorous at sunrise, a garden of beautiful flowers where I can walk undisturbed." It's Walt Whitman. I think that looks quite nice on there. Just a little bit of collaging to brighten the page up a little. So we'll find a spot where that looks okay, and then we'll add that lovely little saying which I've just inked around the edges of that to take the white off it, make it look a little bit more vintage. Oops. Okay, so there we have that, which looks quite okay. We've also got this lovely little word here which may add a little bit to it, possibilities, and that comes from another of Mrs. Cogg's kits. She has the lovely flower words collection, and they have pretty flowers in the background, and I thought that might just look nice across the bottom of that piece there. So there we've got that. Now if you wanted to, you could just leave that bit there like it is and just have that so you can feel the nice texture of the baggie if you like the green colour, or you could go back and find something nice to put over that too if you wanted to add to that. But I think for the moment I'll finish doing the stamping and then we'll work out where that's going to go. I'd say somewhere on the tea-stained side of the page would be a good spot for it. It flips out there and you've got your little baggy spot there. Okay, so that's another little thing done for our book. So we might start off with one of these. I think we might start with this Craft Consortium lovely jar of daisies. So we might pop that in. Oops. So these really hang on to the sheets that they put them on. It's just lucky they're strong because you feel like you're going to tear them taking them off. So we've got our lovely jar And we've got some smaller daisies that hang on for death or dear life, whichever way you want to see it. There we go. Sounds like Lucy's given up and gone to bed somewhere. Either that or she's in with the dog. Sorry about all that noise, it's really hanging on there. Okay, so there are our flowers. Now we need something to put it on, so we'll probably need one of these. And this one's got lines on it, so you can actually line it up to make sure that you've got it straight if you need to have it straight. Now for our jar of daisies, I've got here antique linen or walnut stain. And let's just say, if we're going to put it opposite that, I think the antique linen would actually be nice on that page, so we might just bring our page down and put it onto that. Normally I'd have something a little soft underneath it, because with these type of stamps they tend to work better if you've got like a padded surface underneath. But we'll see how this goes. If it's looking like it's going to be difficult, I'll have to go off and get one. Come on, Lucy. Come on, Lucy. Okay, so we'll move back over here and put that down there and see how that takes to the paper. I usually leave it with these particular type of stamps, the polymer ones, to absorb a little bit, because they take a little bit longer than the rubber stamps to take to the paper for some reason. So I like to give them a little bit more pressure and a little bit more time to soak into the paper. Yeah, I think it would be better if we have something soft under it. It doesn't seem to have absorbed as well as it ought to. So I'll just go and grab something soft to put underneath it. Just a moment. So I've redone the daisies in the jar, and this time I've put it on some different coloured paper. I've added it to some marbled paper that's sort of oatmeal coloured, and it's come out much better this time. But I think the trouble is that these particular type of stamps don't work as well with the distress inks, so I've gone back and got my classic stamping pads from Stampin' Up, which is soft suede and Sahara sand and apricot peel, and I thought we might try those and see if we get a better result. And I've also changed over to the rubber stamps, which I much prefer working with. They are my favourites because they do seem to take to the paper better. I don't have as much success with the polymer ones as I do with the rubber ones. So what I've done is I've put that on another page and tipped it into the book. So I used some washi tape down the side, and that just blends in really well with what we already had there. So I've got a test piece here first that we can try, and you can either use them in the same way, tip them in, or you can use these directly on your page. Let's make my table wobble. So I'll just try one first and see, and this time I've got a soft writing pad underneath the piece of paper so that it's a little bit more absorbent. They tend to work better when you have something softer underneath them rather than a really hard surface, I have found. So we'll just do a test with this one and see how this goes. and then I will see that's a lot better, much better. And then I will go and do some stamping throughout the book, and I'll come back and show you, and then we'll be ready to sew it up, I think. So I always give them a good old press onto the pad. It's funny how they always work out fine on your test piece, and then when you go to do it in your book, it's another matter altogether. So there, that's come out really well. I'm really pleased with that, and that's the rubber ones. These are the Stampin' Up ones, Dandelion Wishes, which is one of my favourite ones. I use it a lot. So we'll compare that, just to be reasonable, we'll compare that with one from 49 Market, which again is the polymer stamps, and we'll just see if it makes any difference that will change the ink over, because sometimes it's good to do these experiments when you have the opportunity, so you can compare the difference. So I'll just switch that over to, whoops, we've got all our little guys stuck on there. Switch that over to this one, which only just fits on, but it'll give us an idea anyway. If it's the ink that's creating the problem, it could have been that it just didn't like that kind of ink. But as you can see, when you look through, you do get a much blurrier design with these kind of stamps. You don't get the crispness that you get from the rubber ones. So let's have a look at this and see what kind of result we get. That's a fairly solid print. It's come out a lot better than this one did. The first one that we did was quite blurred, but it may have just been that it was a one-off chance. So we'll try it again. Let's move over here. We'll try with this stamp and just see if it's the stamp itself. We can't say we didn't give it a fair go. So put plenty of ink in the middle this time, because there was a patch in the middle that didn't take. So I've given it plenty of ink. You can see through there it's quite blurred compared to the way the others look. So let's just see. We'll compare the difference and see if it makes any difference at all. Didn't grab in the middle daisy, so we'll give that an extra push. Okay, no, you can see that it is actually the stamp itself that it has the problem with, because we've changed inks now, and we've changed to a heavier paper. That is a clear difference between the three different companies that we've used, the different textures that we've used. This is the rubber one here. So definitely I would stick with these if you want a nice crisp design. That was the 49 Market one, which came out quite good. It wasn't too bad, but it's still a little bit blurry around the edges by comparison. And I think too it's the design of the stamp as well. These have got heavier, thicker pieces to absorb a lot more ink coverage. But anyway, that gives you an idea of how they work out. So what I'll do now is I'll go through and find some pages that may need a little sprucing up with a stamp, and then I think I will sew it all up, and I'll come back and show you how far we've got, and I think then we'll call it a day. I was also going to add this sweet little tag somewhere, and that was a cute little guy that came in a Happy Mail, and I thought with the daisies he just looks so cute for the daisy book, so I think I'll add him in somewhere too. Okay, well thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you again shortly. Bye for now.